Good morning. Welcome to Chalk Talk. I am your host, Kim Davis. Happy Tuesday, everybody. For those of you who happen to be in Southeast Texas or in the Houston area, it actually feels like fall. So welcome to Chalk Talk. Listen, this is one of my favorite times of the year when it comes to covering sports. Everything is happening. Major League Baseball, the playoffs are underway. And because I happen to cover a team that is pretty much a perennial playoff participant, right? How about that alliteration, perennial playoff participant? The Houston Astros making their sixth consecutive appearance in not just postseason, but in the American League Championship Series. Yes, love that. Also, the NFL is underway. Now, the Houston Texans have been kind of struggling off to a bit of a slow start. It was their bye week last week, so we're going to talk about what happened during the bye week and the big news out of the Texans organization. And oh yeah, by the way, today the NBA tips off its regular season. There are 2 games on the schedule, and the Houston Rockets will open their season tomorrow night in Atlanta. There's news out of Rockets camp as well. All of that is on tap for today's show. And of course, you and your comments. I'm going to let you hear from head coach Stephen Silas of the Houston Rockets, from Head Coach Lovie Smith of the Houston Texans, and also Kevin Porter Jr. of the Houston Rockets, who got a new contract signed, a contract extension on yesterday. And if you follow Kevin Porter Jr. or know anything about him, I'll let you hear from him in just a moment. But first, as we always do, we want to make sure that we let you know, hear from the people who make our show possible, our sponsors. Our title sponsor for the month is Affordable Painters, and that's Hillary Como. If you're looking for somebody to come do a great job, come out and look at your project, tell you what you can expect, what you might need, and what it's going to take to get it done with quality. And also, if you're dealing with Hillary, although he's very professional, he's going to make you laugh. I'm just telling you. Hillary Como, Affordable Painters. You'll see the information in the chat, but I'm pulling up something that he just sent me. And so Hillary Como, Affordable Painters, the number is 281-657-5518. For those of you who watch the podcast visually, the show visually, I'll have that information in the chat. And if you're listening on the podcast, you'll also see Hillary Como, Affordable Painters, 281-657-5518. Also, it's the time of year where it's starting to get a little cool. And what a great time to add Jinka to your regimen. You can take the capsules, that's easy, but you can also buy the Jinka paste. It's great for inflammation. Put it in some almond milk and make a golden latte. Who needs to have coffee in the morning? If you just like the taste of coffee and you want to put it in your coffee, do that. If you want to put it in a smoothie, you can do that. However you want to use it, make it. Put it in some apple cider, hot apple cider. That'd be great. Put it in cold apple juice. There are a number of ways that you can consume Jinka. The key is to just get it in, do something really good for your body. If you are in Southeast Texas, especially in the Houston area, you can get it at HEB stores. And if you're not, you can also get it online at I Love Jinka. But if you want to know where to find it at HEB, here's where you look.
Here at HEB, in the Healthy Living Department, the probiotics, you can find Jinka 7 days a week.
Yeah. Look at a lot of Jinka sale. Look at that. Jinka.
What you see if you're listening to the podcast is that it's located in the healthy living section, in the refrigerated section, next to the kombuchas and all that kind of stuff. You'll see the paste, and it comes in 2 sizes. Go pick up your I Love Jinka today. You will not be sorry. And it's always a good time for popcorn, y'all. And not just because, listen, Kimmy Treats is the best popcorn around. All right. It is plant-based. And people say, Kim, well, isn't all popcorn plant-based or vegan? No, it's about what you put on the popcorn. So there's no animal products, right? There's no butter in it. It's made with coconut oil. It's made with non-GMO popcorn, and there's some great flavors. everything that's in the popcorn, you'll see on the label. So it's clean, it's healthy, and most importantly, it tastes really, really good. So you can go to KimmyTreats.com to get your Kimmy corn, your popcorn. It's great for orders. It's great to ship for clients or gifts and just to have around the house or around the office. So KimmyTreats.com, and here's what it looks like. Order yours today. You will not be sorry. You'll also see the hand whipped body butter when you go to the website. All that's there. Make sure you go and check it out. All right, so let's get down to some business. Yesterday, we wake up to news that the Houston Texans have moved on from Jack Easterby. Jack Easterby was an executive in the organization with football operations, and to say he was a controversial figure would be somewhat of an understatement. He created a lot of energy, right? And not always great energy. And so there have been fans who were disappointed. Players haven't been real happy. You know, people in the organization quietly have not been super happy about his reign and his leadership. So let me just give you a little bit of the history. So Jack Easterby came to the Houston Texans from the New England Patriots. Surprise! He was a chaplain at one point with the New England Patriots, and then he became a character coach. Okay, that was his last job with the New England Patriots. Bill O'Brien brought him to Houston, and he came in as a character coach. I guess kind of keep Bill O'Brien happy or whatever. They knew each other from New England. He was a character coach. And within a few months of him being here, we saw things happening. You saw Brian Gaine leave. Of course, he was always adamant that Brian Gaine being fired or dismissed or whatever the word you want to use is, that he had nothing to do with that. There are people who would say differently. I don't know, but it does all seem very, a little bit coincidental. Then Bill O'Brien elevated him from being the character coach to being the executive vice president of football operations. Just sit with that for a moment. That was a jump. Okay. In this role, he and Bill O'Brien were, two peas in a pod. Bill O'Brien then, of course, was elevated after Rick Smith left. He was acting as general manager, and then they finally made it official that he was the general manager and head coach of the team. That was nothing short of a disaster. And Jack Easterby worked hand in hand with Bill O'Brien with contracts. I mean, he was up front and out front talking about the Sean Watson contract and how much he had to do with that. Bill O'Brien also said the same thing. And there were so many moves. There's the DeAndre Hopson, DeAndre trade for basically, some ancillary draft picks and a peanut butter sandwich. I mean, it was just awful. And people around the league were like, how do you give away this guy who is your offense, right? And you didn't even get a one for him. It was not a great move, and fans were not happy. Players weren't super happy, but what are they going to do, right? They have to come to work. But the mood started to change, and there were a lot of moves that were made, players that were dismissed. The team, the contracts that they did give to players were questionable to some of the players because of the amounts and because of who the players were. The team was in what we call cap hell, salary cap hell. It was just awful. They gave up draft picks on trades. They just the organization is still trying to recover from the Bill O'Brien and we'll say Jack Easterby era. Bill O'Brien, of course, was fired at about 5 games into the 2020 season. I mean, listen, do you guys remember when Andre Johnson tweeted early 2021 about Jack Easterby and how him being in the building was just, he didn't say cancerous. I forget exactly what he said, but he said it just nothing good happened. Nothing good came from it. And he advised Deshaun, like, man, Deshaun wants to get out while you can. Now, if you know anything about Andre Johnson, that is not his MO. He's not really on Twitter. He's not a guy that keeps up controversy. He doesn't even say a whole lot. I mean, he talks, but he was a guy about action. He was really a guy about the team and teamwork. And so for Andre Johnson to have his feathers ruffled enough to say something, that spoke volumes. And people in the market knew, people in the media knew, and people in the market knew, fans knew, like, hey, wait a minute. We should probably listen to Andre Johnson. Well, fast forward that, the Texans hired Nick Caserio. And of course, Jack talked about what an integral role he played in that. And even Nick said that he and Jack had been friends for 6 years and were very close. In fact, Jack flew with the McNairs to New England to pick up Nick Caserio and his family when they came to Houston. Anyway, I digress. My point is the whole Jack Easterby thing is there's so many stories, and I'm not going to relive them all now. I will tell you that Jack Easterby is the reason that Josh McCown was in consideration. That was his pick. Josh was his guy to be the head coach of the Houston Texans. And albeit, if it were not for the Brian Flores situation, I imagine, and most of us imagine, that Josh would be the head coach of the Houston Texans. Josh, who has as much coaching experience in the NFL as I do, or in college as I do. Now, he was a volunteer coach, I think, for his son's high school team, but no real coaching experience. And that was Jack's choice. Luckily, that didn't happen. So Lovie Smith is the head coach, and that's where we are today. So my point in all of it is Jack Easterby's gone. There are people who were celebrating. I'm not going to celebrate about someone losing their job, but I will say it is a move in the right direction for the organization, because there was just so much negativity around Jack, and it just was very divisive. And there are people in the organization and people who left the organization, and yeah, the Jack move, I don't know what took so long. All I know is that now he's no longer there. And now you have some people who had much more contact with him than I did. I will tell you my first Jack Easterby story. In 2020, after the murder of George Floyd, when people all around the country, organizations were saying, how much better they were going to be as it related to being inclusive and diverse and understanding and connecting with Black people in the community, right? That was happening. They said it, and I'll do a show later about who did what they said they were going to do. Anywho, so the Texans were no different. They talked about what they want to do, and they were, we love Black people, and we're gonna kneel. Yeah, the whole kneel thing. It was 4 years kind of late on kneeling as it related to Colin Kaepernick. But okay, so we're doing all of these interviews and press conferences were done on Zoom, because remember, we were in the middle of COVID. So Jack Easterby that's the last press conference I recall him doing with, all in media. Now, he had conversations with media people. He called different ones. He even called me once last year. He called others much more than that. But at any rate, so they're talking about all of this in this press conference. So I asked a question of Jack, and I said, hey, listen, so this is all, you talk about being more inclusive and this and that. And I said, so how is the organization going to address the lack of Black people on the executive team, on their communication staff, on their broadcast team, with the exception of one player? And then it was like, I had said something really awful. He didn't react that way on the Zoom, but I immediately started getting phone calls from, at that time, a communications person, which isn't Omar. Omar is a guy who's over communications now, super professional, great person. At this point, that was Amy Palcic, who used to be here. She's blowing up my phone. Now, I'm on the Zoom call because you set it up. Like, you're the director of media communications for the team. So I get off the thing with Jack. He doesn't really have a question. He doesn't really have an answer. He kind of fumbles through, and I don't know what he says. So I respond to this text. I reach back out to her, and she says, hey, listen, Jack wasn't really prepared for that question. He was really there to talk about facilities. Facilities? well, but y'all brought the other stuff up. And so she said, well, I can get you somebody else to talk. Who would you like to talk to? So, me, I said, well, can you get me Cal? McNair, that is. And she was like, well, I don't know, maybe Jamie. Jamie Roots was the former the president of business operations. And I said, if you can get me Jamie, that'd be great. And she said, okay. She said, well, let me work on that. I'm going to send you a document with some information that shows you, all the stuff that we're doing. So she sends me a document, emails me a document, and she really emails it to everybody who's on the call with every philanthropic thing that the organization and the foundation and all the players had done for the past 2 years. And I was like, this is great. That's not what I was talking about. That's not what I asked you. So fast forward, our conversations become, now mind you, I've been covering the team for years. I've been getting credentials through the KD company, which is my company, for years. I don't just do my show. I mean, you may see me on Fox or CBS. You may see me doing things around the country, but my access is always through my company. So then I get the email that says, oh, and by the way, who are you with? Okay, so that's what we're doing. This is what we're doing now. So then it became, in 2020, some games I would have access, some games I wouldn't. She would deny me access to cover games. And I wouldn't be called on to answer questions on the Zooms. So go back, this is COVID, right? There are very few stands in the stadium, and there's not a lot of media. But there's room, right? Anyway, so that was 2020, and she didn't make it through the season and got fired. And people were like, "Oh my gosh, she's a woman." And first, again, you didn't see me publicly saying how great she's gone. I'm not going to celebrate someone being fired, but she was divisive, not very inclusive, and not very fair. That's the nicest way I can say it. And local people who look like me had few opportunities to cover the team under her reign. So at any rate, that was my Jack Easterby experience, right? So I would see him around camp and practice, around, and he never acknowledged me, never said a word. Just cool. I'm okay with that. And then last year, I get off this show one day, and I get a phone call from Jack Easterby that says, "Hey Kim, it's Jack Easterby. Do you have a minute?" And I was like, "Yeah, Jack, sure." Anyway, he's gone. And so this kind of a cloud that's been hanging over the organization, again, not celebrating someone being fired, but let's be very clear. Jack should be fine. He was paid handsomely, compensated handsomely, and I'm sure he'll be just fine and probably not work in the NFL, but, go and do something someplace else. So the Jack Easterby era is over with the Houston Texans. And so yesterday, we had a chance to talk with Lovie Smith. Last week, the team was the bye week. So after Tuesday, there was Wednesday we talked to the director of personnel, but there was no access after Monday and Tuesday to the coach or the players. So yesterday we get news about Jack. Of course, Lovie is asked about Jack. Here is Lovie answering the question. Now this is at 9:30 in the morning. So all we've seen are tweets with Adam Schefter, which typically turn out to be, pretty accurate. And another thought is that Jack was one of the people who was always leaking the stories to the national press. But so Adam Schefter tweets it, but the team doesn't issue an official statement until much later in the day. So here's Lovie Smith yesterday morning.
I hope you understand. I must ask. It's a major departure from a front office in the middle of a season. How has it been communicated to you going forward? How things are organized? How in your relationship and organizing the team, just how that is without him there now and going forward.
And I hope you understand that when things are official, you never talk about anything until it's official. And as I've said earlier, there'll be information coming out a little bit later on. And then, after things become official, then we can talk about all the things that you like to talk about now. I'm sure you can understand my point of view too.
And that's how he handled it. And I was telling someone, I said, what else should he have said, right? Because it's not official. Because the McNairs didn't issue a statement until, like I said, late yesterday afternoon that basically said, here, let me just tell you what it said. So the statement was, and it came out yesterday. I can't even. I'll have to tell you the time. So this was a statement. Houston Texans mutually agreed to part ways with Executive Vice President of Football Operations Jack Easterby. And this is a quote from Cal McNair. I met with Executive Vice President of Football Operations Jack Easterby, and we have mutually agreed to part ways. For the remainder of the season, effective immediately, his responsibilities will be absorbed by our football operations staff. We acknowledge Jack's positive contributions and wish him and his family the best in the future. That was it. That's what they said. Jack Easterby is out. So I wanted to share that with you all. I needed to talk about it because Jack Easterby has been a name that's come up a lot over the last few years. And so I needed to tell you that. If there's any more that's worth sharing, I will do that. But that's where we are now. There's all sorts of things that I've heard from some different sources, but I don't want to really spending a whole lot of time talking about Jack Easterby and the fact that he's not here. I am going to let you hear from Lovie Smith more. He talked about the bye week, and this is what he said about the bye week and kind of where they are.
And we were able to do that last week, just kind of analyze, critique everything that we've done up until this point, and make the necessary adjustments, even though you're kind of doing that all along. But a part of it, too, is to get away and, just recharge the battery, become a fan, which I was able to do. Wife Mary Ann and I had a great time seeing our flagship university compete and play well. And then just watch the NFL games that happen to kind of see how we fit. A lot of the teams you get a chance to watch, of course, we're getting ready to play a little bit later on. So to go out, to go into the bye week on a win, also I did a lot for our team. But it was good to get back today, though. Get back to the practice field. Part of bye week, you get an extra day to start preparing for the Raiders.
And then we asked Lovie, what's the thing your team needs to do, like the top thing your team needs to do to get better? And here was his response to that.
First, just finish. We've had our moments offensively, defensively, special team-wise. But I don't like the way we finish the games as much as anything. We've had opportunities. What we've been able to see this first quarter of the season is what you normally see. You have a chance to, you go through the preseason, but you still don't get a chance to, when it really counts. And I think that's where we're at right now. I have a better idea of first exactly where everybody should be position-wise and how we go forward. But we had so many opportunities early on. But that was a part of the growth, too, to figure out how to finish a game. And I think you have to go on how we finished the first quarter of our season. We were able to do that against a division opponent on the road. So that momentum that we built up from that last game, hopefully that's what we're going to carry on to this one.
Lovie Smith talking about what they have to do. I always like to relate what happens in sports to what happens really in the rest of our lives and in business, right? How many of you are saying, all right, I need to self-scout, right? I need to reevaluate what I'm doing on my job or with my business. I need to look back over the tape, right? The tape for us are our successes, our challenges. Maybe it's our clients, it's clients we thought we would have. What do? You've got to self-scout. You've got to self-evaluate. And those are the things that just like the NFL head coach has to do or an NBA team has to do, we should all be doing that all the time. Good morning, Charles Drayden. Welcome. It's good to have you. This is, of course, our legal expert who joins us. When we have legal things to discuss on the show, I'll be calling you soon. There's some other legal stuff happening, but I'm just going to let it breathe for a minute, Charles Drayden. So good morning. Thank you for being here. Hey, Marsha, welcome to the show. I think it's her first time joining, being a part of the audience. Marsha, I'm going to have her join us as a guest. She is a marketing and a branding strategist and expert. So I'm going to have, we have the big interview most weeks. And I'm going to have Marcia, hopefully I'm putting her on the spot now, join us to be the big interview on one of our shows, especially in this final quarter of 2022. What are some things that you can be doing to brand better, to market better, to prepare for the rest of this year and to get ready for 2023? Hey, Jackie, all the way from Lafayette. Good morning. It's great to see you, my dear. Thank you for being a part of Chalk Talk. It's always glad to have you all in the room on the show. And remember, be sure to share the video with your audience, right? And I think I've been asking you, I've asked you guys if you will drop your emails in the chat or send me an inbox so I can add you to the email list. I'm going to be sending out some new stuff for Chalk Talk. In fact, keep your eyes open because I'm going to be starting a Chalk Talk community where you can be a part of a private community and have, in addition to the stuff we do on the show, you'll get some special content and a chance to have some one-on-one conversations. I know many of you asked about when are we going to have Chalk Talks events in person. We will do those again, but for now I'm going to build a community and I'd like to invite you guys to be a part of it. So send your email. If you don't want to put it in the chat, just inbox me on whichever platform you're watching and I'll follow up with you after that. So from the Texans, of course, they are playing the Los Angeles Raiders on Sunday Las Vegas. It's so odd that there's a team in Vegas. The Las Vegas Raiders on Sunday will be the team's first visit to Vegas. I thought about going out to that game, right? But, I knew it was going to be in the heart of baseball season. And I'm just really focusing on some things for the final quarter of my year and final quarter of this year for my business. So I'll cover the home games, but I'm not traveling with the team at all. But the Raiders game is Sunday. The Texans will take their 3-1 record on the road as they kind of start the second quarter, if you will, of this NFL season. And we will see what happens. Speaking of things happening in October, can y'all believe it's time for the NBA season already? Today is the opening regular season games, the opening day for the regular season, if you will, for the NBA. There are 2 games on the schedule tonight, but tomorrow night, the Houston Rockets, if you happen to be a Rockets fan, if you happen to be in Houston, and I spend a lot of time talking about Houston teams because those are the teams I cover on a daily basis. We talk about the leagues as a whole, but the Houston Rockets are going to be playing in Atlanta tomorrow night. They open the season in Atlanta on tomorrow, Wednesday night. Then they're back home on Friday night. I'll be there Friday night playing host to the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, what's the news out of Rockets camp this week besides the fact that they are starting the season? Well, Kevin Porter Jr., KPJ, affectionately known as Scoop, got a contract extension yesterday, right? He got an extension, and if you know anything about KPJ's history, if you followed this show, you know he's, listen, he was drafted by Cleveland, didn't have the greatest experience there, and that is. And he would admit part of it had to do with him. And when the Rockets got him and brought him into the organization, last year at Media Day, he said something to us. He said, in talking about his excitement being with the Houston Rockets, he said that this team saved his life. And so yesterday, this is KPJ after practice talking about getting this contract extension and just really what it means to him.
It's a milestone in my life that I've reached, and it's more motivation to keep going. A lot of things has happened in my first 3 years being in the league, and my career has been definitely a roller coaster. And this is just a blessing. I'm grateful.
What was it like when you signed the deal? What were your emotions? What was going through you?
Well, I had to go to the weights right after, but it's been mixed emotions, high and just very high in gratitude, and my frequency level is very high right now. So I just feel grateful and blessed, and the work I put in is starting to show, and more work got to be done.
So that was KPJ yesterday. You can't help but be excited for him. You've seen the growth. We saw the things that happened throughout last year. I mean, that was being able to take those steps and being with an organization that says, we recognize your talent and we want to support you on and off the court. And that's why he said this organization saved his life. And we can't take that for granted, right? Because we see, I mean, he's a young, was he 22 years old? And, you know, to have experienced some of the things he has already and to turn things around, to put in the work, right? Athletics also takes work. He had to do the work. He had to do it consistently. He had to be committed. That's the same thing that we all have to do in whatever our paths are, right? And that's what KPJ has done. And so congratulations to him for being able to be rewarded to see the fruits of that labor and to know that that's not the end. He's got to continue to build on that. So after practice yesterday, most of what was talked about was KPJ and his contract. And here's Coach Stephen Silas talking about KPJ getting the deal done.
For him, I mean, thinking about where he came from, when we got him, the conversation we had before he even came, him in the bubble, the G League bubble, him coming up here and having ups and downs and 50-point games and suspension and like everything that we've kind of gone through together. So I'm proud of him. I'm so happy for him. And this is just the beginning, like he said. This is just the beginning for him being like a foundational piece of what we have going on here.
He said he would.
So I did kind of interject with the KBJ conversation because I knew that I wasn't going to be at practice today because practice is right now during the show. And so I asked Coach Silas about facing Atlanta, opening the season, and his thoughts about that because they open the season tomorrow. And if you, I was on Channel 11 Sunday night on Sports Extra, and one of the questions that came up was about the Rockets and their future for the season. It's one of the sports books gave their over-under, I think, is 23. I think it was a 23, which means do you think they'll win the over? Do you think they'll win more games than that or less games than that? So I took the over. I think this team's better than 23 games. I think they won 20 games last season. And so they open the regular season tomorrow. They've had a couple wins in preseason, but we all know that doesn't matter, right? The Texans were undefeated in preseason. It means nothing once the regular season starts. Here is Coach Silas talking about opening the season and playing Atlanta tomorrow night.
Atlanta basket, we're trying to do the things that make us successful as far as on the defensive end being multiple effort and flying around, and then on the offensive end sharing the ball. And when we do those things, then it will lead to success. So this is a process of many games. So yeah, we're excited about getting out there and playing Atlanta and having the first regular season game. And I'm sure there'll be some jitters because we have a bunch of young guys. But for me, it's about like, okay, this is the start of us figuring out who we are and how we can play well, and the wins and losses will come.
You mentioned the suspension.
So they play Atlanta tomorrow night. It is just the beginning. And one of the things that Coach Silas and General Manager Rafael Stone have been very clear about is they're not entering this season saying this is the number of wins that determines whether or not we've had success this year. They won't quantify it that way, right? And of course, the media, some of us have really tried to give us a number, give us a number. But he's like, they've got a plan and they're staying on their plan, right? There's a process. And so they've mapped it out and they're staying true to it to build this team. That's what leadership is, right? I love that. That is leadership, knowing how you want to build, figuring out the plan, staying true to the plan, even when there are other people that want you to tell them something different or to tell you what the plan should be. You got to figure it out. And you've got to know that you know, right? So speaking of leadership, this is one of the things that I love about Coach Silas. Brian Bearfield, aka Big Sarge, is a voice that you're going to hear. He asked Coach Silas this. It was the last question yesterday, and it was about KPJ. And this is Brian Bearfield and Coach Silas.
Atlanta basket, we're
That's not it. Here we are.
Can you take yourself away from being Coach Silas and just be Steven Silas for a second and think about a young man who was 2 years ago just said that this franchise saved his life. You're part of this franchise. You're part of the reason that he is in the position that he's in right now, the leadership role that he's in right now. What does that mean to you? It's understood, don't need to be said. I got it, Coach. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you. And that was Coach Silas. Like you kind of can't help but get a little misty-eyed because he genuinely cares about these players, right? You know, it's not just, obviously they're there for a job. They each have a position and a role, and it's about playing this game of basketball and winning games. And you often hear them talk about these teams as a family, right? Is your team where you work a family? Is your business, are you running it that way? But he even said in one of the bites, I didn't run it today, you know, he's like, well, yeah, because I love these guys. I love him and I want to see him be okay. That was his emotion, his true emotion when he asked about, listen, take yourself away from being Coach Silas, just be Steven Silas. And when you think about where KPJ came from, this young man who said 2 years ago, year and a half ago, rather, this organization saved my life. What is that? How do you respond to that? How do you feel about that? And that's what he shows you. So that was yesterday, and that was, you know, that was pretty amazing. So those are the things, those are the moments, right, that humanize sports. If you're not a fan, it's those things that really transcend sport, and it's how sports becomes what I say is the sixth love language. All right. Larry says Benedict Mathurin is the rookie of the year. We shall see. We shall see about all of that. And hey, hello, Phyllis. Welcome. How am I today? I'm good today, Phyllis. Thank you for checking. I'm glad that there's a little bit of a crispness in the air. I actually have turned off my AC. I'm excited about that, and I'll be headed down to Minute Maid Park shortly. Hey, Carolyn, welcome. It's always good to have you in from way out west. Thank you for being here. Hey, Jonathan Brandt, Chef Jonathan, it's great to see you. Kwame Catered, is that what it says? Kimani, am I saying it right, Jonathan? I forget. But welcome to the show. Remember, if you have not sent me an email, please do that so that I can have you, so you can be a part of the Chalk Talk community, even beyond the show, so that you can get information and updates about what's happening. The community that I'm going to be starting in the next couple of weeks, I want to make sure you have an opportunity to join early, especially those of you who've been following the show for years. Can you believe that this is the 9th year that I've done this show, and it is continuing to grow? I ask you, as always, please share this show with your community. If you will share the link on whichever platform you're watching it, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, share the link with your community so that we can continue to grow the Chalk Talk tribe. And also, I want to say this, I have opened up a new campaign for advertising. If you're interested in being an advertiser, thank you, Carolyn, I see you. Send me, inbox me on whichever platform that you are viewing the show, and I will send you some information. We've got some new sponsors coming on, some new promotions coming up for the holidays, and I'd love to give you all a chance to join me. It's going to be fun. And here's one of the things I want to make sure you know. I only will add one business category. So I'm talking to a law firm. If they decide in the next week that they're going to be a part of the show, I wouldn't have 2 law firms. So whatever you do, I have like Affordable Painters. I won't have another painting company for as long as they are a part of the sponsorship family. So if you want to, spread the business, spread the word about your business, about what you have going on, think about joining Chalk Talk and as one of our sponsors and one of our advertisers. Speaking of which, I want to make sure before we get out of here today, I let you hear from them all again. You have heard me talk about Jinka. It is a turmeric paste. Turmeric is great for inflammation. This is a product that is in HEB. It is about to be a part of the military. And when that goes live in the next 30 days, I'm going to have the founders come on the show and talk about it, because those of you, any of you who are veterans or in a family of veterans, it'll be another opportunity for you to get the product. It's available in capsules and in paste. I put it in my smoothies. I'll put it sometimes and make a tea with it. I drink it in my with almond milk and make what's called the golden latte. And they're really hoping that there's some coffee shops that will start making that. There are none really in the Houston area, but out west, they do make what's called a golden latte. Turmeric has a number of health benefits. So if you're in the Houston area, you can buy Jinka at HEB. Otherwise, you can get it online at ilovejinka, JINK.com. And here's where you find it at HEB.
Here at HEB, in the Healthy Living Department, the probiotics, you can find Jinka 7 days a week.
Yeah. Look at a lot of Jinka sale. Look at that. Jinka.
That's Ray Macy, right? She is the little CEO of Jinka, and she is growing up understanding all about entrepreneurship, right? Leadership. What are you leading your family and your kids to do? Also, remember, popcorn is a great snack. It's a great gift. It's easy to send, but it's just good to have around the house or the office. So if you like great popcorn, check out Kimmy Corn. KimmyTreats.com is the website. You can order it online at KimmyTreats.com. If you're in Houston, you can also get it in person at Sunshine's Vegan Deli over on Old Spanish Trail. But if you, again, you can get it mailed to you. They ship all over the country. And here is what Kimmy Treats looks like. Vegan truffle, vegan ghost pepper, and vegan chili cheese are the flavors. We will bring back the vegan smoky caramel for the holidays, so I will be putting that back on the menu. Also, our title sponsor for this month is Affordable Painters. Affordable Painters is Hillary Como, and if you want somebody to that does great work, will come out, give you professional service, and will also kind of have you laughing, right? Because that's who he is. Although you're like, listen, Kim, I just want good service. I want a great paint job. You will get that, but you will also be entertained. He cannot help himself. Hillary Como. His number is 281-657-5518. I'm excited about a couple of people that are going to be joining the show in terms of as being sponsors in November. It's going to be some really cool products. I can't wait for them to join us and for you to see them. And again, if you're interested, send me an email, kim@kimydavis.com, or drop a note in the chat or inbox me. And what I'm going to do is, if you send me your email, if you send me your email, I will add you to the Chalk Talk list, and I'll send it to all of you anyway with a link to the show. That's going to be something that we do every week moving forward. All right, everybody, that's going to do it for me today. You know, I always try to do this show in 45 minutes or less. If you missed last week's show, I'm going to post a link in the chat. Make sure that you go back and check it out. Daryl Green, Hall of Famer, was excellent talking about the Montgomery Heart and Wellness Program. That event is this weekend. Dr. Montgomery joined us a couple of weeks ago for the big interview. I will remind you all, so follow my platforms about that event. You can attend for free and get great information for your heart and for your health. There's going to be some great panels and some affordable ways that you can make sure that you are in the best health, the best shape that you can be in, right? Protecting your heart, protecting your health, and doing it in a way you'll learn how I can put better foods and better products into my body, and it doesn't have to break the bank. So I'm going to share that with you again. Those were some great interviews with Dr. Montgomery, and then with Darryl Green, Hall of Famer Darryl Green, who talked just a little bit about football, but really he talked a whole lot more about, he said what's most important to him is his faith in his family and his community and his wife. They've been married for 27 years, 37 years. Whatever the number is, it's amazing. And so I just want to, I enjoyed doing that interview, and also the interview with Dr. Montgomery, who shared just a wealth of information about things we could do. All right, I'm headed to Minute Maid Park and back to get back at it. Follow me on whatever platform you're watching me. I'll post updates about what's happening in the world of sports, and also how you can use these things that we do when we talk about leadership and communications and strategy that we learn from following sports and listening to the leaders in sports, how we can apply that to what we do in our everyday lives and our business. Make it a great, great day. I'll see you next week at Tuesday morning at 11 a.m. Central. And I keep wanting to say Beyond the Headlines. What is that? That was a show at Channel 2. Sometimes that creeps up. But I'm going to see you on Chalk Talk. Make it a great week, everybody.